America spent the rest of the year between then and November trying to work with the Ayatollah's new government and warning him about threats from Saddam Hussein, who was a former CIA asset and who had just taken over Iraq in a bloody coup against his predecessor, al-Bakr, that same year. And people can find video of that coup, by the way, where Saddam takes over and orders all his enemies taken out back and shot in the middle of the thing. It's crazy footage. And they were warning the Ayatollah's new regime about threats from Saddam and threats from the USSR and the potential that the Soviet Union would invade Iran throughout that year. But then what happened was that in November, David Rockefeller, who was the chairman of the Chase Manhattan Bank and the president of the Council on Foreign Relations, an extremely influential guy, sort of the George Soros of his day, very politically influential billionaire type. He intervened with Carter and asked Carter to let the Shah into the United States for cancer treatment. And that was what caused the riot, because the signal was sent that, at least they interpreted it that to mean, America was going to nurse the Shah back to health and then reinstall him in power in a counter-revolution. And so that was when, and it very well may have been the IRGC and the Revolutionary Guard Corps that started the riot. They say it was a spontaneous student uprising thing, who knows? But that was when they sacked the embassy and seized the hostages. Obviously not justifying that, but it's just, that was obviously the CIA station in the country is in the embassy. That was where they had waged the counter-revolution of 53, the coup d'etat of 53, to reinstall the Shah then. And that was what led to the sacking of the embassy.
That's fascinating.
So that wasn't until November of 79.
So from February to November, we were in contact with the Ayatollah. The U.S. government was in contact. What do we know what David Rockefeller's motive would be?
I think the Shah was his friend and he was dying. And he's
just
like
straightforward.
Yeah, I believe that was the whole of it.
He was in Mexico, I think, before he came to the United States.
Right. And so then that was what touched off the crisis. Then there was Operation Eagle Claw, where they sent in, primordial JSOC, right, to go. And that was a catastrophe where they were actually leaving. Enough planes and helicopters had broken down in the desert where they were going to turn around and leave. But then on turning around and leaving, one of the helicopters crashed into one of the planes. I'm sorry, I forget the number of people who were killed, but a few guys were killed. Yes. And it was a total embarrassment and a disaster.